Identity theft is a constant concern for consumers, and it seems no matter how much technology is created to protect us, criminals find new ways to crack even the most advanced security measures. Middle State Georgia University wants to train a new generation of cyber guardians. The school has a new cybersecurity and digital forensics program that rivals government crime labs. Jonathan Yerby is an assistant professor at the School of Information Technology. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
Just how much equipment do you have to buy to have a lab that rivals government crime labs?
Yeah, so the world of digital forensics is a very expensive world to enter into. The equipment and the software is just very expensive, and it's very specialized. So the equipment that we have here at Middle Georgia State University, we probably spent about $50,000, and the way we were able to do that was through a partnership with the National Science Foundation. In our security lab, that's equipment that we've been able to kind of rummage and salvage through used equipment that the college has used, and purchased, some equipment that's probably just in the very low thousands. So the forensics is the really expensive area to enter into.
Well, what exactly is cyber forensic? I mean, it sounds like you're trying to track down somebody based on a crime scene. Is a hacking breach a crime scene that you then break apart?
Yeah, so a hacking breach is certainly something where a forensics team would come in afterwards. So I think people hear the word forensics and they think
CSI.
They think CSI, they think blood and fingerprints. So in the computer world, it's what data was stored on that mobile phone, what data was stored on that computer. So much of our lives now is computerized. People are walking around with a GPS in their pocket. Criminals are often not the smartest people, and they're sending messages back and forth to each other through text message, or they're taking pictures of something, or their cell phone is trying to connect to the Wi-Fi while they're breaking into somebody's house. There's a record of all of that.
All right. Joining us is one of your tech-savvy students, junior Taryn Gabriel. Thanks for joining us, Taryn.
Oh, thank you.
I hope we're not interrupting your study schedule. Are you majoring in cybersecurity?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
So you've grown up with this threat. You're relatively young. This has probably been a concern for you for most of your life now. What made you want to then look into criminals who hack?
Well, I've always been fascinated with just the concept of computers and security, and it's not really until my sophomore year when I started hearing all the news about, companies being attacked, and this culmination of all these attacks really sparked my interest to pursue this degree. What
do you think, Taryn? Have you learned fear? Have you learned how vulnerable we all are?
Yeah, it's a major idea, the fear for companies especially, I guess really learning how to prevent these attacks from happening. But as a security analyst, what I'm pursuing, you have to almost think as a hacker and look at, what a hacker looks at and look at the weak points in a network and know, hey, this is probably the area that I need to focus on and secure.
So that brings us back to you, Jonathan. In terms of forensics, we often think of them as sort of getting in the mind of the criminal, right? The profiling of a criminal. Do you have to do something similar with a hacker?
Somewhat. So, and when you're trying to defend, that's back into the world of security, you do need to think like a hacker. You need to think, what holes are there that I need to make sure that are shored up so that an attack can't come in. You also have insider attacks, and so you got to make sure your employees are happy. And then with the forensic side, it's not so much of having to think like a hacker, it's going back and looking through the evidence and recreating that narrative. So you're trying to replay that story supported by all the digital evidence that you can find, and then you report it in a very objective way. And then you send that report off to some attorneys to take it to court and then figure it out from there.
Taryn, have you ever hacked anything, even as a young, foolish kid?
Don't answer that.
No, I never have. You always you see other people doing it. The internet's always being hacked some way or another. So you just read news articles and you just get the idea and understand what's going on.
But do you understand? Do you have any conception or understanding for the attitude of a hacker, someone who sees that as a challenge to get through really tough security?
Of course. So the hacker mentality is they don't need 100% success. As long as one person fails out of the 100 people that they try, that's success for them. And so it really, starts with making sure the user understands how can I not, fall victim to this tragedy. And it starts with the basics, I think. It starts with stronger passwords. It starts with, securing your Wi-Fi just on a personal basis. And you'd be surprised. I mean, you go to apartment complexes or neighborhoods and you just see all these Wi-Fis that are unprotected. And it only takes the wrong person just to get in your network and steal, all your information. And at times they don't go in and take it and leave. They just sit there and they wait. And the user mentality is that would never happen to me. And we just need to change that and understand that everybody's a victim to it, and we just need to make sure we are secure.
Do you have a password on your cell phone?
Absolutely. I actually have a fingerprint that I use. So unless you have my fingerprint, you're not getting on my phone.
Jonathan, how do you begin some of these classes? I mean, how do you start to make students aware when they first come into class, make them aware of how vulnerable most consumers are?
Just the news in the last 3 or 4 years has really done that job for me before students even get to class. So I'm really blessed with the fact that students show up to class and they have something that they're already interested in. And so I have some students who really want to know more about a specific thing, because the world of security and the world of forensics is very deep and it's very diverse. So that job is really done for me. So I can just bring up a sensational headline and they keep coming. And we can talk about what sort of hack happened here, what sort of vulnerability was there here. So you've got Target, Home Depot, the latest thing in Ukraine where someone's actually hacked the energy grid. That's a huge threat to the United States. We have a fairly sophisticated energy grid in most places, but there's some places who have a very unsophisticated energy grid. And guess what? They're connected, and the easy way in, you get in there, and then you can get into the more sophisticated systems.
So, Taryn, what do you find more interesting, a hack such as your professor was just talking about of a government or a utility, or something like Target or a Home Depot, some of the ones that really make headlines and affect sometimes millions of people?
Well, it's the Target scandals that really spiked my interest, and it's just really understanding what a hacker did to get into the information. For example, the Target itself actually had a very secure system. It was the third-party credit card information, or the credit card company that processed all the payments, and that was linked to that wasn't secured. And so the hacker viewed that and said, well, let me attack, the credit card company, and then that way I'll have a clear access into the Target network. And so as a security analyst, you have to view this and understand, hey, this is a point of weakness that we need to emphasize on, and that's really what really spikes my interest.
And just to remind listeners, that hack of Target that Taryn is talking about there, that happened just before the Christmas shopping season in 2013, and something about 40 million accounts, credit and debit card accounts, the data was stolen there. So, Jonathan, what does it take to train a really prepared cybersecurity person? And do they have to specialize like a doctor does? Do they have to be somebody that specializes in, say, a corporation or government security?
So the way that our program at Middle Georgia State works is we have students coming in with a wide variety of backgrounds, all the way from the high school senior who graduates and says, hey, this sounds like an interesting field, to people who've been working in the industry or maybe with the Air Force Base that's local to our community. And really, they need to just come in with an open mind and ability to learn. And we take them from intro to, this is a computer, this is a network, these are types of attacks, and here's vulnerabilities. And so we graduate our students with a level of skills and intelligence that they can go into the workforce. And when they get into their job, they're going to have some additional training that they'll go into to learn how to work in that facility. So with that government agency or with that retailer. So, but the graduates that we employ are very prepared.
So they could move directly into a job. They wouldn't need a master's degree.
Right. We do offer a master's degree, but the majority of our students, they have to have a bachelor's degree. It's a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology, and then they're employable. That first position may be somewhere around 30, but then their second position, they really skyrocket into somewhere usually around $70,000-$80,000 a year, which is not a bad salary for someone graduating college.
Yeah, considering that a lot of them these days are unemployed. And I wonder,
Right.
Jonathan, if you see a lot of hacks like as Taryn was just discussing in terms of Target, where they actually had very good security and the hackers were simply able to get through it. Or are there a lot of hacks in which the company maybe didn't invest in security the way it should have? And we keep hearing about companies that are taken by surprise. How common is that?
Yeah, so all of those scenarios are common. So I think with all of the news coverage, security has become more of a concern for companies. In the past, I think too many chief financial officers saw security as a cost, and now they're seeing this as something that we need to invest in now so that we don't have to pay a ton of money later in the cost of a data breach. So I think the cost of a data breach right now is somewhere around $150 million. And so if I can hire 3 security...
And that must be a small data breach, because I know the Target breach was incredibly expensive. I mean, is that just the average cost of a data breach?
That's the average. I'm looking at something from the UK House of Lords, a little stat I printed up the other day. So it's going to vary per record, and it's not just the cost of notifying that customer, figuring out which systems you have to fix, doing the forensics investigation, but it's also a loss of reputation, a loss of future business.
So, Taryn, have you already begun to look at job postings to see what the field is like for when you graduate?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually currently work at Wells Fargo, and they have a big IT headquarters over in Charlotte, so that is something I'm definitely pursuing. And especially when it comes to banking, we notice the chips on the cards. That's just one security feature that's being added to all companies. So just pursuing that, I know I'll definitely.
I just want to make sure everyone
successful.
understands. You're talking about the chips that they're now adding to both credit cards and debit cards to try
Right.
to tighten up that loophole, which surprisingly has been open for a very long time.
Yeah, and even the way that the United States is handling that isn't the best way. So in the UK, they've had the chip and pin system for quite a while, where there's a chip in your card, but you also have to know a PIN number. So when you go dine out somewhere in the UK, they'll bring over a little machine and you'll enter your PIN in. So it's something you have and something you know. In the U.S., we're going with kind of a half solution, so it's a chip and signature. So you still have to have that card, but you sign that signature, and I'll tell you, when I sign my signature at Kroger, it's a scribble. And
Yeah, it's really hard to
says,
make those pads look like you're not intoxicated while you're trying to sign.
Exactly.
To be honest.
So as long as you have that card in your possession, there's still not a great bit more of security added there.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Okay, so Taryn, are you in this field because you have looked at jobs postings and you know that you will most likely be able to get a job? Or is it an attraction to what looks like the next field of, it's like law enforcement, isn't it, Taryn?
Yeah, it really is, and it's a really combination of both. I've again always been interested in security and computers, but also knowing that more and more as the world gets connected, cybersecurity analysts are going to be more in demand, and that just is a secure future for me.
And that brings me back to your program then, Jonathan, as you start to train more people like Taryn. What is the goal of Middle Georgia State University? Are you trying to sort of own the field, at least for this state? Or do you feel as though every university and college is at some point going to have a program like this?
Well, in the field of cybersecurity, there are several programs around the state, and we need them. So I think that there's going to be a huge need. Well, there already is a huge need. Right now there's projections that will be anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million unfilled security positions by 2019. So that's a huge...
In 13 years, there could be up to 2 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs.
Not 13 years, 3 years. In 3 years.
In 2019?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, continue.
So there's already a good bit of unfilled security positions, and we keep seeing more data breaches every day. So the future pipeline that we're working on building is the digital forensics area. And that's kind of saying the hack is inevitable. So we need the security people to try to prevent the hack, but something's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. Even if it's not a hack, maybe it's some sort of insider, Jim sexually harassed Susie, and we need to find out the true story and find out all of the details, everything that occurred. And hey, if we have an in-house forensics person, this doesn't have to go public until we confirm everything. So there's going to be more and more companies that are going to need digital forensics or cyber forensics experts within their security team. So that's where our program is a little different from most of the schools in Georgia. The other two forensic programs in Georgia are at Georgia Tech, and they have a fantastic forensic program. And they do lots of research and develop new tools. And then there's a program at Armstrong Atlantic in Savannah, Georgia. And theirs is a little more criminal justice focused, while ours is a little more information technology focused. So we've got a few partnerships between the two schools. But that's where we're at.
That's Jonathan Yerby. He's assistant professor at the School of Information Technology at Middle Georgia State University. We also spoke with Taryn Gabriel, a student enrolled in the cyber forensics program. Jonathan and Taryn, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
This is On Second Thought.